Let's bring in Colin Rush from Oppenheimer. He downgraded Tesla on Twitter-related risks after naming it a top pick for 2023 just last week. So what's going on here, Colin?
Well, it's certainly been a quiet few weeks, hasn't it, folks? After Elon's poll regarding whether or not he should step down as Twitter's CEO concluding overnight, the mainstream finance media has had an absolute field day. Tesla stock analysts are chiming in, some bullish, some bearish, some downgrading the stock on this news. What? Members of the mainstream finance media who previously were extremely bearish on Tesla are now starting to go, oh, hang on a minute, isn't this all noise? Is this a buying opportunity? Jim Cramer, who 12 years ago said don't buy Tesla stock, don't even rent it, is now also saying to buy the stock. And it appears Tesla stock itself is at peak disconnect, at least in my opinion. And for some much more detailed discussion around Elon Twitter poll, his motivations, where to from here, and why he did the poll in the first place, head over to Patreon, check out today's video. I share my thoughts in a lot more detail over there. If you're not a member, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment.
Tesla shares briefly moved higher this morning since turning lower though, and that's after Elon Musk polled followers asking if he should step down as Twitter CEO. Now, all this as multiple reports say Musk is approaching investors to help fund his purchase of Twitter, including Ross Gerber. Well, joining us now to discuss is Ross Gerber, Kawasaki Wealth Investment Management CEO. Ross, good to have you on the show. I know you've been very vocal about this roller coaster that especially Tesla stock has been on since Musk took this on. What are your expectations now? We saw a brief sort of shadow of hope, but back to reality we're seeing in the stock price right now.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, the lower it goes, the better opportunity for investors as we're going to get resolution to this issue. I hope the short term, and that's what I'm working very hard for. And judging by Elon's comments, I think he is looking for a CEO now, and he just wants somebody who's going to make a very large commitment to doing it, and financially and emotionally and physically. So he has very high expectations on the way he wants Twitter to be run, and I think the end game has a little bit more focus now.
Who in their right mind, other than a megalomaniac, would actually want to step up as the new Twitter CEO? The entire hate stream media will direct their attention toward defaming and disseminating lies and misinformation about you. Many in politics, likewise. Users will complain constantly, no matter what you do. There are very few sane people on earth who would sign up for that amount of pain, except those with an intense, all-consuming need for power and control, the kind of person you absolutely do not want running such a company. You guys will recall, after Elon made his offer for Twitter, people were asking questions. Well, what if you're not doing a good job? If it's a private company, how can shareholders vote you out? And Elon said, hey, if you think I'm doing a bad job, I'll go. Next minute, he does a poll. Next minute, he's out of here. Now, the problem is, how do you find a suitable candidate who genuinely cares more about upholding the principles of free speech and allowing people to freely share their thoughts, opinions, and ideas, knowing how much pain will be coming their way as a direct result of attempting to do this? Who in their right mind would do this other than somebody whose goal isn't actually to uphold the values and principles underlying the new Twitter, but instead somebody who wants to interfere, manipulate, censor, and suppress, and or just have the insane amount of power that comes with operating a social media platform? In addition, if you can actually find someone who has a good heart, who's willing to take the pain and put it all on the line, of all the people, which is not that many, who aren't megalomaniacs, who actually care about the mission, how many of these people, what is the subset who would actually be competent and do a decent job at operating the company? Please let me know in the comments below.
You could argue, Ross, you among many other investors and Tesla as well, certainly pressuring Elon Musk, who, you have said among many tweets that you just think this is unacceptable, that so much of the value from Tesla has been erased as a result of Elon's distraction with Twitter. I wonder what your bigger concern is here. Is it about the sale of his Tesla shares? Is it about the distraction? Is it about the brand dilution because of what he's been saying on the platform?
Well, it's really a combination of three things that have really bothered me, and that's why I've announced that I'm running for the board of Tesla. It's time for Tesla's board to wake up and do their job, because the job of a board is to protect shareholders and to provide guidance to people who want to invest in the company and have confidence in its future. And they've done nothing, absolutely nothing, a disgraceful nothing, not a word from anybody. So it's time for somebody to move over and let me be there, because I
am sick of my fund being down for the year and the quarter. Something went wrong there. Technical difficulties.
We'll do three things immediately. One is transparency. It's very important that we know what is the plan, either for secession of Tesla eventually, like if Elon died, what would be the secession plan? And then secondly, what is the current short-term plan for Tesla's management and bringing Elon back to Tesla, and what is the time frame for that? Number two, there needs to be transparency with the media. It needs to be very clear to people what's actually happening at Tesla And Tesla's done a poor job of that since Elon stopped telling everybody what's happening at Tesla as he's focused on Twitter. And I would be doing weekly press conferences with the press, including tours of gigafactories for the mainstream media, so that people would be very informed on what's happening with Tesla, because it's such a really important time for them. And thirdly, I think it's crucially important that we end the stock sales or have transparency to what stock sales will or will not be happening into the future. If this is the end of the stock sales, then that should be that. And we need a standstill agreement with Mr. Musk so that he will not sell any more shares of Tesla, and that investors can have confidence in buying the stock and knowing they're not going to get whacked the next day with another $5 billion share sale.
While I deeply respect Ross's willingness to share his thoughts, I'm about to do likewise. Brace for impact. What is this guy smoking? I know what he's smoking. Fund performance over the last quarter, fund performance over the last year. Can you imagine trying to impose an agreement upon the person who's poured more blood, sweat and tears into this company than any other, that he will not sell any more shares? Why? Because it might cause short-term damage to Tesla's stock price. Question: does Elon Musk selling Tesla stock change anything at all about the company, their employees, their technology, their scale, their profitability? No, it doesn't. The only thing it does is cause temporary, short-term, irrelevant movement to Tesla stock price, which actually, in my opinion, gives a great opportunity to long-term investors. Now, I hate to point out the obvious, but perhaps it isn't. Elon Musk's highest value is unquestionably freedom. You know what happens when you try and impose your will on somebody who values nothing more than freedom? It doesn't end well for one party. I'll leave you guys and girls to figure out which. Now, I totally understand from Ross's perspective. It's getting raked over the coals here. Tesla, the biggest position in their ETF, is managing money for clients as well, buying Tesla stock. Most of them probably emotionally immature. That's why they're going to somebody to invest their money, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They can't do it themselves. They can't handle it. Therefore, oh my god, Ross, fuck you, man. I thought you said Tesla was good. Why is it down? Fuck you, Ross, I hate you. I'm going to pull my money. Of course, this is pure speculation, but the timing is rather coincidental. Even Ross himself acknowledged earlier in this clip that this is a buying opportunity with Tesla stock down. Yet at the same time, he wants to force himself onto Tesla's board and then impose his will upon Elon Musk, demanding that he agree to never sell Tesla shares again. Why? Because it may cause short-term discounts for long-term investors. I mean, poor performance for his fund over a short period of time. Could be wrong. Maybe Ross just genuinely cares about Tesla's execution and is somehow conflating Tesla's stock price with their execution. It's an easy mistake to make if your emotions are in control. Is it just me? Is Ross saying these things because of his fund's performance? Or because he really genuinely cares about Tesla? Because between you and I don't think Elon Musk selling Tesla stock causes Tesla to forget how to make their vehicles. I'm just saying.
So those are the three things I'm most focused on, and bringing value back to Tesla and its shareholders as it goes into 2023, which will be a phenomenal year for the company.
And Ross, we know that Leo Koguan, who is the largest, the third largest individual shareholder in Tesla, he was saying, look, Musk is our employee. We don't actually need him there at Tesla. Do you agree? Would you still be as bullish about Tesla if Musk wasn't at the helm?
I disagree with Leo, and Leo is supporting me, and I support him. And I understand his anger and frustration with Elon at the moment, but that is not the best path for Tesla. The best path for Tesla is Elon Musk working full time on building Cybertrucks, which is going to be an incredible challenge for Tesla this year as they ramp the production of a very highly complex vehicle using new materials and a new manufacturing process. Now, in my 8 years at Tesla, there's one thing I can guarantee: that ramp is for sure a big challenge, and Elon needs to be there every day in Austin, making sure that this happens so I can get my Cybertruck this year.
Ross, finally, turning our attention back to Twitter, those reports that Elon Musk seeking new investors to buy in at $54.20 a share, which is what he bought Twitter at. You've confirmed those reports. You said you've been looking into client interest as well. What does that look like right now? And what's the path forward for this company?
Well, I think there are a large amount of investors that want to invest into Elon's Twitters, and we've received inbound interest from clients and non-clients even who want to invest in Twitter. So there are a lot of people who believe in this vision and want to be a part of it. So I don't think that's surprising. There was very little time for investors in the first round to actually raise money because it happened kind of in a night. So now they've given us maybe like 2 weeks, but at least I think it gives opportunity for other institutional and individual investors like the ones we represent to be involved with this investment. And I'm invested in it because I do believe over the long term this will be a good investment.
Really quickly, Ross, any particular names that pop up that could follow Elon over at Twitter?
Follow Elon, like to run it? I'd love to see John Ledger.
Replace him.
Yeah, I'd love to see John Ledger at T-Mobile. He used to run T-Mobile. He's been a friend, a wonderful CEO. He's great with media. He's great with advertisers. He's great with people and branding. And I think it would be great for Twitter. And what I think Elon needs is a great partner where he could be chief technology officer and focus on technology. And then you have a like CEO media guy like John Ledger would be just amazing. It would be such a successful company, I think, with that kind of structure, and separating those tasks would be the correct action for Twitter.
Let's bring in Colin Rush from Oppenheimer. He downgraded Tesla on Twitter-related risks after naming it a top pick for 2023 just last week. So what's going on here, Colin? I would assume that if, in fact, he does step aside as CEO, you would be encouraged by that as well.
Yeah, and it's about rebuilding trust. I mean, for us, what happened last week is that the share sale was one element, and I don't think we were surprised to see him sell a few more shares to fund this endeavor. But really, the engagement with journalists and banning folks without consistent methodology around who was getting banned and why, and the application there was really a problem for us. You know, for someone that's working towards free speech, from his own words, but really doing some damage to his brand and doing damage to not only his personal brand, but Tesla, which is inextricably linked to him. And so for us, seeing that was a bridge too far. And as we go forward, obviously he has some work to do to rebuild that trust for us, rebuild the trust in the brand and the mission that Tesla's been on in terms of climate mitigation and evolving better solutions for people through technology. And we need to see a lot more work from him and that company to get back on board here.
Right, but I want to be clear. You're still positive on the fundamentals of Tesla. So I guess if he were to actually abide by this poll and say, all right, I'm done as CEO of Twitter, would you change your rating, or is it going to take a while for you to get that so-called trust back?
It's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, we continue to see Tesla as well out in front of peers. We've talked about 2 to 3 years of technology advantage. We think it's actually a little bit longer than that. It may be as long as 4 to 5 years. And the challenges around EV are really around material science, and those are long, hard problems to solve. And we think Tesla has done a tremendous job around that. Additionally, they have a massive data advantage around AI for self-driving vehicles, and we think they're continuing to extend that lead. But really, the brand and the backlash from consumers is substantial at this point. And
I disagree very strongly on this point. People are being confused by a very loud, vocal minority of virtue signaling clowns who want everybody to know that they're a good person and they hate the current thing, which is Elon Musk. If what Colin is saying is true, there'd be a huge surge in discussion and interest about Tesla and Elon Musk, not only relative to historical interest in Tesla and Elon Musk, but relative to other hot topics. I don't know, let's say Donald Trump and Andrew Tate. Let's have a look at the comparison between Donald Trump, Andrew Tate, Elon Musk and Tesla, just to see, because the signal that's being provided to people living in echo chambers and bubbles in our Tesla-centric world, it sure seems like a lot of consumers are getting butthurt, a lot of potential customers are cancelling orders and so on. But if we zoom out, remove ourselves from this Tesla and Elon-centric bubble, things may be a little different. Let's head over to Google Trends. So this is Google Trends worldwide data past 12 months, Elon Musk in blue, Trump in red, Andrew Tate in yellow, and Tesla in green. You would think that if what we're hearing, the amount of brand damage and so on is occurring, there would have been a steady increase in discussion around Elon Musk and Tesla over the last 12-ish months. There'd be a very, very strong increase around the Twitter acquisition, the announcement. There was Elon Musk, the most hot topic on the planet, almost, back in April when the deal was announced. And then no one gives a flying fuck afterwards. Brief spike, crazy billionaire offers to buy Twitter. Next minute, no one gives a shit, except in this tiny little bubble, in my opinion. Now, if we zoom into the past 7 days, this is some real-time data. December 20th, as I record this is Australian time. Some of you might be from the future or the past, so keep that in mind. Relative search interest, Trump's at 66, Elon's at 40, Tesla's at 42. Yeah, that's right. The guy who's still not posting on Twitter, with no mean tweets for the media to discuss, still the hottest of each of these topics by miles. Even after the insane surge of discussion yesterday in the hate-stream media around Elon's poll, still interest in Tesla and Elon, not even at current Trump levels. It may seem like the entire world is hating on Elon and hating on Tesla. When you put things in perspective and zoom out a little bit, it's just another day in the office, and I literally fucking mean that. Let's zoom out again for the past 12 months. Relative interest in Tesla right now, 41. For those who don't understand how Google Trends work, by the way, whatever snapshot of time you're looking at, there'll be a peak of 100, and then everything else is relative to that. So as the time spans change, so to the interest. Now, Tesla's currently at a 41 and Elon's at a 21 in the last week. If we zoom out, discussion around Tesla and Elon Musk is about as low as it's been in the last 12 months. Just thought I'd share that to provide a little perspective. The idea that this is doing significant brand damage to Tesla and Elon Musk is farcical. Like I said, it's a very few vocal people who or so desperate for others to approve of them that they must support or hate the current thing. The current thing is hating Elon Musk. Yet still, despite that, you zoom out, no one's talking about this. No one gives a f***.
And certainly the foray into Twitter is not helping that brand. And as we go into a period of time where we see more competition and folks have more choices because we've been supply constrained for so long on the EV side, we think there's some real risk around what that means for Tesla. We continue to be a little bit conservative versus our peers on units for 2023, but we'll see how this plays out. And we think that a lot of the competition is going to struggle here. We're seeing pricing increases from a variety of folks, including Ford, just in the last week, and we think Tesla has a tremendous technology position, but really rebuilding that brand, the trust and the premium that they've gotten from that brand is going to take some time.
So when you do talk about brand damage, have you calculated it? Quantitatively speaking, how does that bake into your downgrade today and your estimate for the stock, at least in the near term?
It's still very fluid in terms of what that looks like. What we're looking at is sell-through on the vehicles, and we're seeing shortening lead times on specific vehicles. We've gone from having a 6-month lead time to, in some cases, a couple of weeks in certain geographies, and that's where you start to see the potential impact on earnings is really about that pricing and their ability to lever, availability of supply into higher prices. And as they see some of that availability change, the price leverage becomes diminished, and so I think we're going to see it here more likely in the first half, and we expected some of that. We take a pretty conservative view on pricing, a solid 8 to 10% below what's being advertised on their websites. But as we go forward, we can see some of that eroding, and certainly one of the things that we're watching for is incremental marketing spend. The company's really been pretty impressive in terms of their ability to sell a lot of vehicles without spending a lot on marketing, and really next to nothing. As we see them, if we see them start to spend on marketing, we'll know that they have a demand issue, and that's going to be a real problem for the stock.
All right. So again, to be clear, you're citing those reduced lead times and other things you just cited as supportive of your backlash from consumer contention, right? I mean, you don't have specific data beyond that, though.
It's really hard to collect the brand data and what that is. There's also anecdotal evidence that we're hearing from talking to folks, but really the actual data takes a while to emerge in terms of what the real brand value is.
Okay. Colin, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Particularly on a day where you obviously downgraded the stock. Colin Rush from Oppenheimer.
How'd you vote?
How did I vote on Musk?
Vote?
I felt like I shouldn't.
Oh, because you wanted to be neutral?
Yes.
I felt it was like I need a sticker. I voted. I didn't get a sticker.
We're starting with that Elon Musk poll, of course.
I had to vote.
By the way, he did ask users, if he should step down, and saying he would abide by the results. 17.5 million votes cast. That's pretty good.
I know, and I voted
57% said, yeah,
when
get out of
Contessa
here.
was on, I voted I voted like 524.
The results
Last
are
minute.
also giving a lift to shares of Tesla, of course. As you know, and we've talked about endlessly, the stock has taken a significant downdraft since, you can see it, 31%. That's just since the close of the Twitter transaction.
What do you think it means if he does step down? Does that mean, people keep saying that means bankruptcy. I keep thinking it just means he's going to find another CEO?
Yeah. Listen, that was always part of the plan. We were looking back. It was in May. Remember when I reported that he was telling the investor group that he had lined up, the $7.14 billion in equity investors that included, Larry Ellison and Mark Andreessen. He was telling them at the time, I'm going to take over. Yeah, that was back in May. That was my story, right? I'm going to be temporary CEO, and then I'm going to find somebody to run the company.
Right.
So I'm going to do it for a few months. And oftentimes these polls, Jim, do seem to be something that he already expects to do. So it's not a surprise. That said, it's not clear who his successor would be.
No, but I have a lot of sources in Twitter. And yes, the disarray is palpable. But in some ways, that's Musk's way. I mean, he really kind of didn't want anyone from the old group. I think that this was so positive. My Chapter Trust doesn't own Tesla, but it's such a positive for Tesla to read that. Because I think the biggest problem here was that there was definitely a sense that he's taken his eye off the ball. And now, he could appoint Joe Schmo, and Tesla goes higher.
Yes. Now, again, it's unclear whether he will listen to the poll, though he said that's his intent.
He did say it was fine.
One would anticipate, again, if this was part of the plan that he was telling investors about last May, that he does have someone in mind to potentially take over. That said, he's the owner. I mean, he's still going to be able to dictate whatever it is he wants to happen. It would be through another person. But to your point, just simply saying I'm no longer CEO would certainly be beneficial for shares that have been cut by a third just since he closed the deal.
But I really want to make this point that Tesla's doing incredibly well. I mean, I think people don't understand. There's a China problem, but I think that China is certainly reasonable given the fact that there's COVID.
Yeah.
Twitter doing poorly because of some ad degradation, given the fact that...
Well, there's overall weakness in the ad market. We know about it across the board.
Right,
and obviously they've added to that with what, some of the problems there in terms of advertising, just advertisers specifically pulling back on Twitter right now, saying we'll wait.
Right, but you could have some consolidation in that industry. I don't think it would be good. I also don't think, by the way, that he ever really put into place what he has in mind for Twitter, if he hasn't something in mind. A new CEO, I think, would be regarded as being positive for both, because I think people think he's doing badly at both.
Yep.
And I think that the idea that he's doing badly at Tesla is just wrong. Tesla's doing quite well.
Jim Cramer spitting some fucking facts, despite the perceptions in a few minds out there. Tesla continues to absolutely dominate. Even Jim Cramer recognizes this.
Yeah. I think that the fact that he's doing badly at Twitter, well, who would?
Well, I mean, again, I'm looking at an Oppenheimer piece from this morning. They downgraded Tesla due to Twitter-related risks.
Right.
I mean, that's the number one reason. Musk is increasingly isolated as the steward of Twitter's finances with his user management on the platform. We see potential for a negative feedback loop for departures of Twitter advertisers and users due to inconsistent standards, resulting in increased financing needs that may lead to incremental Tesla sales by him, just as the competitive environment intensifies.
That vote made me feel like, okay, Tesla sales are done, so buy some Tesla.
So approximately 12 and a half years after Jim Cramer says, don't buy Tesla stock, don't even rent the stock, he's now saying, buy Tesla stock.
Tesla treading water following a rough week as Oppenheimer says it's seen enough. Analyst Colin Rush downgraded the stock to perform, writing that challenges regarding Twitter have left sentiment towards Tesla, quote, severely damaged. It's not just Musk's share sales that are an overhang. Rush says its decisions in running Twitter leading to broad public backlash that is pushing Rush, quote, to the sidelines. Kind of a sobering note here, kind of laying out the case as to why, it's not about Tesla the company. He says they have the ability to cut costs where other guys can't do it. The software and tech prowess is there, but just concern over Musk's sort of, connection to Twitter and that public backlash there.
Yeah, so many positives. I mean, built his own supply chain that is not reliant on other countries. But look, the stock at Tesla is down 30% since that Twitter takeover. And the one thing you just don't want is that brand, that cult of personality to become bigger than the biggest car company in the world. And that's what it is. This is just anecdotal, guys, but I talked to some friends I live in a Tesla town, and I spoke with a few of them and said, does this impact you? And before I even got it out of my mouth, they all said, I absolutely will never buy a Tesla again. I'm already looking at what type of EV I'm going to buy next. Now, their politics are obvious.
If by politics you mean their desperate need to be approved of by others, their support of the current thing, whatever it is, hey, how come you don't have a black heart in your profile? Are you racist? Where's your Ukraine flag? Do you hate Ukraine? Are you pro-Russia? Why aren't you calling to defund the police? Why weren't you out burning your town down in mostly peaceful protests? Have you dobbed your parents in because they're a little bit skeptical about doing what they're told without... Whoop, I better not say that, I might get kicked off YouTube. I think what I'm trying to say is yes, if somebody who's still driving around in their car, wearing a mask when no one else is in the vehicle, has hand sanitizer in their cup holder, it's pretty safe to say they probably also support the current thing, which is hating Elon Musk, and will happily tell you before you've even finished asking the question, I'm never going to get a Tesla, that guy. Because it's very important to them that you know that they're a good person. So he's right, their politics and their desperation to be approved of by others is quite obvious.
But they don't want to think of a human being. They don't want to think of a politics. They want to think of a machine. And that gets back to this poll that he put out. Should I step down as head of Twitter? I will abide by the results of the poll. 17.5 million people voted. That is an astronomical number, and overwhelmingly people said yes. And he also said he will, again, abide by this. My personal belief is he wanted it out here. He would not have put this poll out to his followers if he didn't want to get out from under that enormous burden.
Yeah, I think he's using it as a bit of a scapegoat here to kind of say, hey, I put it to you guys voted, and I'm listening to you. This isn't the first time that he's kind of done something similar to this. So I think the fact that he put that out there, the number of votes, though, that took me by surprise. Over 17 million. Astonishing, but that really shows how much attention this story has attracted, not only from Tesla believers or Musk believers, but people clearly who have been very critical of him. And he's been criticized from Wall Street. A number of analysts, Oppenheimer, the latest, downgrading shares, are really changing their view of Tesla, saying that right now it's not trading within the line of fundamentals. But also a number of policymakers have come out and questioned what Tesla is doing right now, what Elon Musk is doing, what that could mean for Tesla's shareholders. And Senator Warren today is sending a letter to Tesla's board and raising some questions about Elon Musk and Twitter and whether or not his actions are shortchanging Tesla. And within this letter, she wrote, Twitter's desperation for revenue to cover its new debts could also create conflicts when Tesla negotiates with Twitter for advertising space. Mr. Musk could decide that he is personally better served if Tesla overpays Twitter for advertising or pays upfront to give Twitter access to much needed cash. Now, it's very important to point out that this is all hypothetical here, but...
So for those unaware, Senator Karen is literally one of the worst human beings on earth. This nasty, steaming pile of human excrement previously spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, running targeted Facebook ads defaming Elon Musk, falsely claiming that he's essentially a freeloader who doesn't pay his fair share of taxes. He's a greedy billionaire, pandering to one half of the bell curve who support Karen who think that if somebody else has money, if there's a billionaire out there, the only reason they're a billionaire is because they took all that money from other people, not because they were compensated in proportion to the amount of value they've created on Earth. No. If they have something, they took it from you. Billionaires are taking it from you. You have nothing. Are you mad? You're mad? Well, good. Direct your anger toward Elon Musk because he's a greedy billionaire who doesn't pay his fair share of taxes. Please vote for me. Also, donate to my campaign because I'm not a greedy billionaire, but give me your money. Literally. Actually. Really. And now, this pile of excrement is suggesting that Elon Musk and Tesla may, in the future, because they don't even advertise now, commit what is approximating fraud. The fact that you would put this out there as a talking point, no evidence of course, it's all hypothetical. It's another low-key, disgusting attempt to tarnish and diminish the guy's character. Why even say something hypothetical? This is just... Again, she's one of the worst humans on the planet, whipping up a frenzy of hate and vitriol towards this guy, attacking his character, defaming him, spreading lies and misinformation, and now putting this out into the world as well. Why is it that a US Democrat is saying something like this about Elon and Twitter? It's completely irrelevant. It has nothing to do with anything. But hating Elon Musk is the current thing, and Senator Karen is all about the current thing. Therefore, obviously, she needs to make a statement about the current thing, just so you know that she too supports and in this case denounces the current thing, aka Elon, aka Spaceman Bad.
Just a minute or so ago, when we're looking at losses of over 50% in the last 3 months, but that year-to-date chart showing that's not that different when you take a look at the year-to-date performance, off just about 57%. So I think many people at this point would like to see some changes maybe to Twitter and see whether or not that helps get Tesla back on track.
Shares of Tesla on this news looking up. Check it out. That stock is up by about 3% this morning. We want to talk more about this vote and what it could mean for the EV maker. For that, we are joined on the Squawk Newsline by Gene Munster, Loop managing partner. And Gene, what do you think? Let's just talk about this from the perspective of the public company here. That would be Tesla. Is this good news for Tesla shareholders?
Absolutely. It's a positive for Tesla because despite all of Elon's flaws, investors just want him to be more involved with Tesla. He just has this magnetic personality, debatable, but Tesla investors believe that. So having more of his time applied to Tesla, I think, helps with just the multiple around Tesla. And second, there's this added benefit of him distancing himself from Twitter. It should improve Tesla's brand. I believe over the last 7 weeks, as he's been more engaged with Twitter, he's damaged Tesla's brand. He's become more political. And I think there is a benefit to Tesla by him stepping back from Twitter. So I think this is a big deal for Tesla investors, and I think they should feel good about, which I believe will be him following what he said and resigning as CEO of Twitter.
Vox Populi, Vox Dei. That is what he tweeted recently on another Twitter poll that he posted out there. The voice of the people is the voice of God. Do you think he actually goes through with it on this one?
I do. I think there's just a lot at stake because underneath this is his first principles approach of doing things different. It's obviously unorthodox for a CEO to put his job up for vote, and I think Elon just enjoys doing that. And so I think he has been pushing for power for the people, and that's been just one of his kind of brand angles. And so I think he will follow up on it. I think if he doesn't, it would be a black eye. And one of the other reasons why I think he'll follow up on it is there is a laundry list of reasons why he doesn't want to be CEO of Twitter. He didn't want the job. He didn't want the company originally. He said in court testimony he wants to back off from his time at Twitter. And his true superpowers are solving technical problems, not ambiguous content monitoring problems. And so ultimately I think that what he's doing here is just better aligning what he's really good at. And so I think he will honor these results because I think he wanted to quit.
I'm hearing this repeated a lot today. What do you guys think? Did Elon Musk want to step down as Twitter CEO and that's why he conducted the poll? Was he hoping that people would vote in favor of him stepping down? Or is it possible, given the discord, the noise being made by everyone everywhere, he thought, hey, let's see what the people want. After all, I said before I acquired Twitter, people were asking if it's a private company. What if I'm doing a bad job? Elon literally said on the record, I'll let people vote. He's just done the poll. So what do you think? Did Elon want to step down and that's why he conducted the poll? Or did he just want to say, well, the sentiment doesn't seem great. Let's see what the people think and I'll act based on that.
Tesla hit a new 52-week low.
Just today, yeah.
Right? This morning. The more that goes down, the more pressure there is arguably on him to get Twitter right.
Right.
Because that's his source of funds to fix that. And if he's got to sell more Tesla to fix Twitter, it's still his responsibility, even if he's not CEO. Can he really step away?
Yeah, and also keep in mind, like this is so much of his wealth is tied up in Tesla, right? So that becomes his piggy bank as he makes all these weird actions, arbitrarily changing the rules, scaring off advertisers so they pause or just leave the platform completely. He has to keep going back to that piggy bank and selling. Or, as we heard last week, reportedly he's trying to find more investors to invest in the company at the same share price he bought it for, which we all know is overly inflated anyway.
Yeah, a lot of hand-wringing about what this means for Tesla. I think two things we're not thinking about. Number one, Tesla stock's also been impacted. A lot more competition in the EV space. A lot of different players coming in. And then also, starting the new year, the Model Y and the Model 3, they're going to both be eligible for that tax credit in the Inflation Reduction Act. Certainly a tailwind for the stock. So a lot of this might be much ado about nothing if those Tesla sales and deliveries spike back up again.
Fancy that. With a time horizon extending more than 10 days into the future, big EV tax credit coming available in the US at the beginning of 2023. It is amazing, absolutely amazing to watch Tesla stock right now. I personally believe that investors and the stock market has the shortest ever time horizon it has ever had when looking at Tesla. Ever. We're talking days, weeks at most. The world's gone mad. Emotions have taken over. People have lost their fucking minds. Like, hello. It's like everyone has forgotten everything. It's disheartening to see how easily people's brains just fall out of their heads and their emotions take over. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed the discount on Tesla stock while it's lasted. My prayers to the flying spaghetti monster were more than answered. Let's leave it at that.
Tesla finishing in the red after bouncing earlier in today's session. Investors initially seemed to cheer the results of Elon Musk's Twitter poll, asking if he should step down as the CEO of the social media platform. More than 57% of users voting yes in that poll. And our next guest says Tesla investors would be big winners if Musk leaves the top job at Twitter. Let's bring in Steve Wesley of the Wesley Group. He is a former Tesla board member and a Tesla shareholder. And Steve, it's good to see you and get your take on this, because I'd love for you to just tease out what specifically would be the benefit to Tesla shareholders and presumably Tesla the business if we didn't have Elon Musk seemingly full-time running Twitter and kind of involving himself in that drama.
Well, look, Twitter's been a meltdown for Elon. It's a lot for anybody to handle. And if you look at the share price, down from $399 a share at the beginning of the year to roughly $150 today, that's a 60% drop. That's $700 billion of shareholder value lost. So I think Tesla shareholders are eager to get him back. And I think it's time. And I think Elon feels that himself, which is why I went to Twitter followers and say, look, do you want me to turn this over to a full-time CEO? And it was overwhelmingly yes. Now, if he wasn't serious about that, he's put himself in something of a box. But I think Elon was looking for a way out. I think there are plenty of people who are going to want that Twitter job, and I think it's going to give him a chance to provide full focus on continuing to build what is the most valuable auto company in the world.
Well, what is, practically speaking, necessary for him to do at Tesla? Obviously, every company needs a CEO to handle lots of issues. But the other line that we hear is, Tesla's actual fundamentals are unchanged. They look like they're well positioned. Yeah, there's problems in China, but looks like volumes might hit roughly the targets for 2023. In other words, it doesn't seem as if there's a imminent business crisis at Tesla. It's more just a valuation adjusting down to the current fundamentals, perhaps.
I don't see that at all. I think here's what's really happening. Because Elon has been so diverted, people are saying, my gosh, the CEO of Tesla is not providing full attention. At the same time, you see the very same person selling $40 billion of his own shares. That's putting huge downward pressure. Everybody knows Twitter has been a real meltdown of a situation. If he comes back, and if you just put the political intrigue aside and you look at the fundamentals, they've had a banner year, 55% growth on revenues, growing from $53.6 billion to $84 billion this year. Record new sales growing from 936,000 to this year on track 1.4 million vehicles. Stunning growth, 13 consecutive quarters of profitability, roughly 2x the profitability of Volkswagen, Ford, or GM. They're doing awfully well. I think if you can just get rid of the selling of his own shares and provide the focus the market's looking for, I think the share price is going to bounce back. By the way, Ford already talking about potentially, we've heard reports, doing a share buyback. That tells the whole story right there.
Well, that they are talking about that. It's I guess unclear if that's the thing to do, if that would help a lot, but that's certainly in the mix and says where the company has found itself relative to where it was in the past. What about the thought, though, and this was kind of the rationale behind one of the stock downgrades today, which is that there is some tarnishing of the brand simply because Musk has kind of gotten involved in a lot of these divisive political debates. You know, half of everybody is now unfavorably disposed to him or Tesla, and you've reduced the ultimate potential market for the brand.
It may be more than half of anybody, but the reality is, with this level of growth, most profitable auto company out there, again, 14% net margins, 2x the 5 or 6% GM, Ford, VW, the rest of the industry's at. This is a stunning story, and I think if he can put the political intrigue behind him, if he can stop selling shares, this ship gets righted pretty quickly. And I think other people watching the sector are going to feel the same way. There is no doubt we could be going into recession. There are more entrants in the space. There are a lot of firms out there, possibly Lordstown, Lucid. It's a long list, Fisker, that may not make the cut.
May not? Let's try will not. Now, there will be a few survivors, but they will be the exceptions to the rule. People seem to have forgotten how impossible what Tesla has done actually was. But we're about to see a bunch of other companies attempt to do the impossible, and I don't think as many of them will fare so well.
But Tesla is going to be at the top, and the question is, how long do they stay at the top? But at these numbers, $149, $148 a share, this company at this growth rate, at this level of profitability, looks like a buy to me.
So, Cramer says buy, Steve Wesley says buy. Most people recognize the Twitter distraction is pure noise. We now have some very smart analysts downgrading Tesla stock because of Twitter noise, not because of Tesla fundamentals changing. We have folks in the mainstream media now consistently who've previously been very negative on Tesla going, nothing fundamentals changed though, has it? Is that a buying opportunity? I'm going to say it. Today is officially peak disconnect. This comment may or may not age well, but I'm on the record. Tuesday, December 20th, pre-market, as I record this, Tesla stock peak disconnect. I could be wrong. I'd love to be wrong because I'm still buying, but I'm starting to get a very strong feeling, very unscientific I know, that the stock market will soon realize that what it thought was the end of the world was simply irrelevant noise. And if nearly 40 minutes wasn't enough, I've shared some deeper thoughts on Elon, the poll, his motivations, whether or not he'll step down, whether or not this could have been done a better way. Spoiler alert, definitely could have, over on Patreon in today's exclusive video. If you're not a member, you can join with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.